As a scale model maker, can 3D printing really offer the utopia we hoped it would be? Hi, welcome back to St Blazy Model World. I'm Roger, and in this video, the first of two, I'm going to talk to you about my experiences in 3D printing so far, the good, the bad and the ugly. It hasn't all been success, and there has been one or two disasters. Let's share experience, and hopefully you'll end up avoiding some of the basic mistakes that I've made. So let's begin by giving you a very quick bit of information about my choice of 3D printer. And as a beginner to the hobby, I started by doing a lot of research, and the model I opted for was this one. And if you're an experienced 3D printer, just try to stop laughing for 1 second and I'll explain why this is the model that I went for. After doing some research, I found out that this was one of the easiest models to use straight out of the box. A number of printers, it seems, come with a whole load of building work to undertake once you've got delivery of your purchase. But this one had a pretty good reputation. I'm led to believe that this is no longer available direct from the retailer. But if you know different, or you're able to make a comment on that, please do leave a comment below. I should at this point out that I'm having to film this on my kitchen worktop. Believe it or not, it's the only place I've got where I could actually do it. But if you are new to 3D printing, this is the sort of thing you're going to get. And it's basically a framework with a spool holder that holds your spool of filament. This particular one is green. That feeds all the way through this tube here, goes into this wonderful device here, and basically gets heated up into a sort of semi-liquid form, and with the aid of some brilliant computer science allows you to make 3D models and structures. That's the whole thing in its simplest form. But as I said, it hasn't all been easy, and there have been a few disasters. So now let me take you through a number of the things that went wrong when I first started. So the theory is very, very simple, as I've explained. And this gold coloured plate here moves up and down on these rails, or these runners, the Archimedes screw. The print head itself can move horizontally and vertically in conjunction with the print bed. And the theory is that at the end of it, you get something that looks a little bit like this. And when you've painted it, it can look like this. This is just a little line side signal box for a model railway, and it's brilliant. But it took me a long time to get here. So the very first thing that went wrong for me quite a lot was that in the printing process, the software heats up the print head, this part here, the nozzle inside, and it also heats up the print bed to a certain temperature, and away you go. But I had enormous amounts of problems with printing projects coming away from the print bed, this part here, this gold coloured part, and what you end up with then is quite a lot of plastic spaghetti. I suddenly got to a point where I thought, I'm wasting time, money, product, it's not working, what do I need to do about this? And after a bit of research, I found that actually one of the good ways to get round it was to spray your print bed with an adhesive. And this is the one I went for. It's available on all good internet auction sites and purchasing sites, I'm led to believe. And I actually got this one through Amazon. I bought 2 tubes of it. Comes out as a fine mist spray, and you spray it onto your print bed, and you can see here the outline of where I've used it. And the project has been glued to the print bed here, and the darker area, because that's covered in glue, but the project is the lighter area here that you can see on this print bed. And that worked really, really well, and it did eliminate a vast number of problems. Now, it turns out that 3D printing certainly on this device, it's not a rapid process. And when you waited hours for something to come off of the printer and it fails within the last 2%, all you're left with is all that plastic spaghetti. And so that additional bit of information, finding out about the adhesive, has been absolutely invaluable. The other thing I did that this machine actually came with, but I didn't know at the time, was that this plate is textured. It's not actually smooth. If I just sort of run my fingernail over it, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but there is a texture there. And apparently some 3D printers come with a smooth plate. So I actually bought another one of these, even though I didn't need it. So that was another X amount of pounds down the drain. I can't remember how much that cost. So just be careful when you're getting into this for the first time that you might actually already have a good setup. You just don't know it because you're new to the actual process. And that's the position that I largely found myself in. I really was learning on the go. Despite doing a considerable amount of research and watching various tutorials on YouTube, I was learning on the hoof and learning a lot of lessons about this. Another, again, basic mistake if you're experienced, but as a beginner you wouldn't know. Another mistake that I made was that I assumed that all filaments are created equal in terms of quality and quantity. And again, that is not the case. This green filament that you can see here has been going for a hell of a long time, because when this spool arrived, it was virtually full. And if I just take you around to the side there, you get a bit of an idea of just how much filament you actually get. This filament that I purchased, which the filament itself, absolutely fine, no quarrel with it whatsoever. But when this spool arrived, it was only about half full. I'd clearly made a very basic shopping mistake there, and it's not actually anything to do with 3D printing. I simply didn't read the small print. As I say, the product itself, absolutely fine. But again, if you're new, to something, you don't really think about these things, do you? You just take it for granted that you've bought the fastest sports car on the block or the best SUV in the car lot. And as a beginner, well, despite research, it's all too easy to get out or get caught out. So there's another thing that you need to be aware of. Another thing that you need to be aware of is the purchasing and licensing restrictions around 3D printable files, assuming of course that you're not advanced enough to make your own, but as a beginner you're not likely to be, and I certainly wasn't. I was relying on purchasing 3D files, downloading them, and then putting them into my software before they went through the actual device, before the 3D printing process began. In the next video, I've got a promotional code for you that I've secured through one of the suppliers through this licensing process. And these files, they're not expensive, and of course once you purchase them, you can make as many prints of the item as you need. So here is a box car, still in grey. It was printed in grey filament, this one, and then sprayed in grey primer. The chassis and the wheels and everything's with it. I have all that. And you could produce any number of those that you need now to make a train. And that's great. But you need to be aware of these things. What you can't do normally is to take these products, produce them, and then sell them on internet auction sites like eBay as your own work. Certainly in the licensing requirements and restrictions that I've investigated, that is not permitted. So please remember that you're buying some of this stuff, these files, for your own personal use. I don't think there's anything actually that stops you giving them away, or maybe trading them for items with a friend for equal value, but certainly selling them commercially, that's out as far as I can see. Well, despite making a few mistakes, I have started to get it right, albeit on a microscopic scale. But I have to say, it is extremely satisfying to be able to produce your own models and have something slightly different from the guy on the next diorama or model railway or whatever it may be, who's bought something simply off of the shelf from a main supplier. In the next video, as I said, I've got a promotional code on some of these licensing purchases for you, and I'm also going to talk about what's actually gone right, because despite how this video might have come across, things are moving on and I am getting to grips with it. If you are an experienced 3D printer and have any advice, I would be tremendously grateful. Please leave your comment in the section below. Until the next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again very soon on St. Blazy Model World. Bye for now. Bye bye.